My name is Ed Anderson. I'm 63 years old, and I was a police inspector for 35 years in a major city. Today I'm telling you how my life changed when I got a call in the middle of the night from my grandson Ethan, just 16 years old. He was crying, telling me he was locked up at the precinct because his stepfather, Carter, had accused him of assault. What I uncovered that night started a war against corruption that even I, with all my experience, never could have imagined. But before I tell you how it all started, I need to ask you a favor. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from. Your support is critical, and it could save lives. The phone rings at 3:14 a.m. At that hour, the sound seems louder, more urgent. In my years as an inspector, I learned that calls in the middle of the night never bring good news. I grab my cell and answer, half asleep. "Hello, Grandpa?" Ethan's shaky voice wakes me up instantly. "I'm at the 7th precinct. They arrested me. Carter says I attacked him, but it's not true. He hit me first." "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" I get up immediately, looking for my pants in the dark. My face hurts. "I'm scared, Grandpa. The inspector here is friends with Carter and he doesn't believe me. Please, come. Don't move from there. Don't say another word until I get there." As I get dressed, I try to clear my head. Carter Vance, Ethan's stepfather. I always thought he was trouble. My daughter Mary died 5 years ago in a car accident. And just a year later, Grace, Ethan's mother, married Carter. I never understood what she saw in him. A businessman with contacts at City Hall, always bragging about his influence. I grab my old inspector's badge, my wallet, and the car keys. Maybe I don't have official authority anymore, but I know the system, and a lot of people still in it. The badge, even expired, still carries some weight. I drive through the empty city streets, anxiety eating me alive. Ethan was always a good kid, studious, quiet, never looked for trouble. If he's in a precinct holding cell, something is very wrong. I get to the 7th precinct, a building I know well. I worked there my first 10 years on the force. As I walk in, the familiar smell of stale coffee and disinfectant hits me like an old friend. At the desk, a young officer is typing something. "Good evening. I'm Ed Anderson, former inspector. My grandson, Ethan Alvarado, is being held, and I want to see him." The officer looks at me with indifference. One moment. She types something else and picks up the internal phone. "Inspector Camacho, there's a man here who says he's the grandfather of the kid detained for assault." I wait impatiently, tapping my fingers on the counter. The inner door opens and Victor Camacho appears. I recognize him immediately. A heavy-set man about 50, with a graying mustache, and small, suspicious eyes. We worked together years ago, but we never got along. I always thought he was too flexible with certain rules. "Well, well, Ed Anderson." His voice is deep, almost mocking. "Long time no see, partner. I'm not here to socialize, Victor. I want to see my grandson and know exactly what he's accused of." Of course, of course. Come into my office." He gestures inside. I follow him down the hall. At the end, I see the temporary holding cells. In one of them, I spot Ethan sitting on a bench, head down. I try to walk over, but Camacho stops me. "Let's you and I talk first, Ed. Things are complicated." In his office, Camacho sits behind his desk, and I take the chair opposite him. There's a framed photo on his desk. Camacho with other men on what looks like a hunting trip. I recognize Carter Vance among them, smiling, holding a rifle. That confirms my suspicions. They're friends. "Your grandson assaulted his stepfather tonight. Busted his lip, almost broke his nose. Carter is at the hospital getting checked out." Camacho speaks with practiced confidence. "We have a video from the house security camera that shows the whole thing. The kid lost his temper. I want to see that video." "Sure." He turns his monitor toward me and plays a file. On the screen, I see what looks like a living room. Carter walks into the frame, seemingly talking. Ethan appears, visibly upset. Suddenly, the image shows my grandson pushing Carter, who falls backward. The recording ends right there. "That's it? Where's the rest of the video?" "This doesn't show anything conclusive. It's what we have, Ed. Carter is pressing charges for assault. The kid has a history of violent behavior at school." "That's a lie. Ethan has never had disciplinary problems. I have reports that say otherwise." I stand up, feeling the anger start to boil. "I want to talk to my grandson. Right now." 5 minutes, Camacho concedes. He leads me to the cell where Ethan is. When he sees me, my grandson stands up. He has a black eye, a cut on his eyebrow, and a swollen lip. Seeing him like this brings a mix of pain and fury. Grandpa. His voice breaks. It's okay, Ethan. I'm going to get you out of here. Camacho opens the cell and lets me in. I hug my grandson, feeling him tremble. What really happened? I ask in a low voice. Carter came home drunk, like always. He started yelling that I stole money from his wallet. When I told him it wasn't true, he punched me. Tears run down his cheeks. I defended myself. I just pushed him to get him away from me, but he hit the table. Then he called the police, saying I attacked him. Where was your mom? She's out of town for work. In Dallas. She gets back tomorrow. Ethan lowers his voice even more. It's not the first time Carter has hit me, Grandpa, but he always threatens me. Says nobody will believe me if I talk. I glance at Camacho, who's waiting impatiently at the door. I'm going to get you out of here, I promise, I tell Ethan, squeezing his shoulder. You are not spending one more night in this cell. I walk out and confront Camacho. My grandson has marks all over his face. Why isn't Carter detained too? Why isn't it in your report that he assaulted the boy? Mister, Vance says the kid got those injuries while resisting the officers during the arrest. That's absurd and you know it. I demand a doctor examine Ethan right now and document his injuries. It's pretty late for that, Ed. It's never too late to do things right, Victor. Either you call a doctor, or I call the DA on duty to report irregularities in your procedure. Camacho stares at me, weighing my threat. Finally, he sighs. Fine, I'll call the on-duty medical examiner. But it won't change anything, Ed. The kid is spending the night here, and tomorrow he'll see the judge. We'll see about that. As Camacho walks away to make the call, I pull out my cell and dial a number I haven't used in a long time. After 3 rings, a female voice answers. Lieutenant Roberts? Who is this? It's Ed Anderson, former inspector, 7th Precinct. I need your help. Urgently. Lieutenant April Roberts is one of the few people on the force I always trusted. Young, smart, and most importantly, incorruptible. I explain the situation quickly. I'm on duty tonight, she says. I can swing by in 20 minutes to verify the procedure. I appreciate it, April. While I wait, I watch the movement in the precinct. A couple of officers look at me curiously. They probably know who I am. In my day, I had a reputation for being inflexible, for not taking deals or favors. It earned me respect from some, and enemies from many. The main door opens and Carter Vance walks in. He's got a bandage on his nose, and his bottom lip is swollen. Our eyes meet, and he stops, surprised to see me there. Then he smirks and heads straight for Camacho's office. Minutes later, Lieutenant Roberts arrives. In her mid-30s, she has the steady gaze of someone who knows her job and tolerates no obstacles. She greets me with a firm handshake. Inspector Anderson. It's been a while. I'm not an inspector anymore, Lieutenant. You'll always be one to me, sir. You taught me half of what I know. Camacho comes out of his office, followed by Carter. Seeing April, he visibly tenses. Lieutenant Roberts, what brings you here at this hour? Routine procedure check, Inspector Camacho. I was informed of a domestic assault arrest, and I want to verify everything is in order. Carter steps in, extending his hand. Carter Vance, sir. I'm the victim in this case. April ignores his hand. Lieutenant Roberts. I need to review the case file and see the detainee. I already called a doctor to examine the boy, Camacho says. Excellent. I'll be present for that exam. Now, the file? Camacho leads her to his office. Carter stays with me in the hallway, a smug smile on his face that turns my stomach. It's a shame we have to meet under these circumstances, Mr. Anderson, he says with false courtesy. Ethan always speaks so highly of you. Cut the hypocrisy, Vance. I know exactly what you did. His smile vanishes. Be careful what you imply. I have the video that proves who assaulted whom. A conveniently edited video. What happened before the part Camacho showed me? Nothing relevant. He steps closer, lowering his voice. Look, Mr. Anderson, I understand you want to defend your grandson, but the kid has problems. He needs discipline. A firm hand. The firm hand that gave him a black eye and split his eyebrow, I suppose. He got that resisting arrest. Ask any of the officers who brought him in. Or maybe you did it. And then you called your friend Camacho to cook up a story. Carter's face hardens. Be careful, old man. Your time is over. Things work differently now. You'd be surprised how well I know how things work now, Vance, and what I'm capable of doing for my grandson. We're interrupted by the arrival of the medical examiner, a young man who looks fresh out of school. Camacho and April come out of the office. Dr. Mendoza, Camacho greets him. Thanks for coming so quickly. The detainee is this way. April gestures for the doctor to follow her toward the cells. Carter tries to follow, but April stops him. Authorized personnel only, Mr. Vance. I'm the complaining party. I have a right to be present. Not during the medical exam, she says firmly. Wait here. Carter shoots me a furious look, as if I'm to blame for this delay in his plans. He sits in one of the waiting room chairs, drumming his fingers nervously. April signals for me to follow her. We enter the cell where the doctor is already examining Ethan. He takes photos of the injuries, measures them, and documents everything on an official form. Can you tell me how you got these injuries? The doctor asks. Ethan looks at me, seeking approval. I nod slightly. My stepfather hit me. First a punch here, he points to his eye, and then he shoved me against the wall. I hit my head and cut my eyebrow on a shelf. When did this happen? Tonight. A little after 11. The doctor jots it all down and continues his exam. When he's finished, he turns to April. The injuries are consistent with his story. The periorbital hematoma, the black eye, has the coloring of a blow from about 4 to 5 hours ago. The cut on the eyebrow is characteristic of an impact wound against an object with an edge, not a direct punch. April nods. Thank you, doctor. I need your report as soon as possible. You'll have it in an hour, max. When the doctor leaves, April looks at me. This contradicts the initial report, Inspector. Of course it does. Camacho is covering for Carter. I also reviewed the video, she says in a low voice. Something's off. The metadata shows it was edited 2 hours ago. The original recording must be longer. Can you get it? I need a warrant to access the home surveillance system. And for that, I need proof of evidence tampering. Ethan speaks up. The neighbor, Mrs. Klein. She has cameras pointed at our driveway. She's always recording. Says people steal her flower pots. April looks at me with a spark of hope. Do you know the exact address? 247 Jacaranda Drive. In the Valley neighborhood, Ethan replies. I'm heading there right now, April says. If that footage shows something different, we can turn this whole thing around. I'll stay with him, I say, pointing to Ethan. I won't leave him alone, Grandpa, she promises, using the personal term. This stinks of corruption, and you know that's what infuriates me the most. When April leaves, I sit next to Ethan on the cell bench. He's exhausted, scared, but I see a spark of strength in his eyes that I've always admired. Does Mom know about this? He asks. Not yet. I was hoping to solve this before worrying her. She's going to take Carter's side. She always does. Your mother loves you, Ethan. But sometimes love makes us blind. Carta manipulatis hea. He makes her believe I'm the problem, that I disrespect him. And she believes him because he stops. Because, why? Because he has money. Because ever since Dad died, Mom is scared of being alone. It hurts to hear, but I know he's right. Grace, my daughter-in-law, never fully recovered from the death of my daughter Mary. They were very close. Carter appeared at the perfect moment, offering financial and emotional stability. Or so it seemed. We're going to fix this, I promise, Ethan. And after, you and I are going to have a long talk about everything that's been happening in that house. Time crawls by in the precinct. Camacho appears occasionally, giving us anxious looks. Carter has stayed in the waiting room, talking quietly on his phone. Almost 2 hours later, the main door opens. April walks in, accompanied by a stern-looking older woman. District Attorney Melinda Moss. I recognize her immediately. Her reputation for being incorruptible precedes her. Behind them is a small, elderly woman holding a cell phone. Mrs. Klein, I assume. Camacho's expression turns to pure panic when he sees the DA. Carter stands up, confused by this unexpected turn. Inspector Camacho, Melinda Moss says in a firm voice. Lieutenant Roberts has informed me of possible irregularities in this case. Show me the file and the video immediately. While Camacho, visibly nervous, leads the DA to his office, April approaches our cell. We found something, she tells me quietly. Mrs. Klein had recordings from 3 days ago showing Carter shoving Ethan against the door, and better yet, she has audio of him threatening him. Hope swells in my chest. For the first time since I got here, I feel like things might turn out okay. The system is rotten. I know that better than anyone. But there are still people like April and Melinda fighting for justice. Thank you, I say to April with all my heart. She smiles slightly. Don't thank me yet, Inspector. The night is young, and this battle is just beginning. D.A. Moss spends over an hour locked in Camacho's office. Through the blinds, I see tense gestures, documents being pointed at, severe looks. Carter stays in the waiting room, constantly checking his phone. I watch him try to keep his composure, but his right leg is bouncing nervously, betraying his anxiety. Mrs. Klein, Ethan's neighbor, approaches our cell with April. She's a small woman in her 70s, but with the sharp eyes of someone who's seen a lot. So you're the grandpa, she says. No nonsense. The boy always speaks well of you. Thank you for coming, ma'am. Mrs. Klein, she corrects me. And don't thank me. That man, she gestures discreetly toward Carter, is a devil in disguise. I've seen him, you know. How he changes when he thinks no one is watching. Ethan looks at her with obvious gratitude. Mrs. Klein winks at him. I brought you a donut, kid, but these cops wouldn't let me give it to you. Said it might have a file in it. She lets out a short laugh. As if I know how to do that. The office door finally opens. D.A. Moss comes out first, her face grim. Camacho follows, visibly uncomfortable. The D.A. approaches our cell. Mr. Anderson, I'm District Attorney Melinda Moss. Her voice is firm but not hostile. We've reviewed the case and I've found significant irregularities in the procedure. Carter stands up, walking over quickly. D.A. Moss, a pleasure to meet you. Carter Vance. I trust you'll see justice done in this unfortunate incident. The D.A. barely looks at him. Mr. Vance, I suggest you contact a lawyer immediately. A lawyer? But I'm the victim here. That is yet to be determined, she replies dryly. Lieutenant Roberts, release Mr. Alvarado. His detention did not follow established protocols. April doesn't hide her satisfaction as she opens the cell. Ethan looks at me, disbelieving. I can go? Yes, the DA confirms. But I need both you and your grandfather to remain available for further statements. Carter steps forward, visibly upset. This is unacceptable. You're just letting my attacker go? What kind of justice is this? Mr. Vance. The DA's voice takes on a sharp edge. The recordings we've reviewed show a very different version of events. Tampering with evidence is a federal crime. If you wish to avoid more serious charges, I suggest you moderate your tone and cooperate fully with the investigation. Carter turns pale. He looks at Camacho, who avoids his gaze, understanding that the ship is sinking. Inspector Camacho, the DA continues. You are temporarily relieved of your duties until the internal investigation is complete. Surrender your badge and weapon to the officer on duty. Camacho's face twists in a mix of disbelief and contained rage. This is a mistake, DA. My procedures were standard. Your procedures included accepting tampered evidence and omitting crucial information from the initial report. The medical evaluation of Mr. Alvarado directly contradicts your statement of facts. The DA doesn't raise her voice, but every word lands like a hammer. Lieutenant Roberts is in charge of this precinct until further notice. We leave the precinct just as the sky begins to lighten. The cool morning air is refreshing after hours in that oppressive environment. Ethan walks beside me in silence, visibly exhausted but relieved. Where are we going, Grandpa? To my house. You can't go back to yours. Not right now. In the car, I notice Ethan slowly relaxing. The silence between us is comfortable, but I know we have a lot to talk about. This isn't over, is it? He finally asks. No, Ethan. It's just beginning. At my house, I make coffee while Ethan takes a quick shower. I lend him some old clothes from when my son Daniel, Ethan's father, lived with me. They're a bit big, but they'll do. Sitting in the kitchen with steaming mugs in front of us, we finally have that pending conversation. How long has this been going on, Ethan? My grandson stares into the dark liquid. Soon after he married Mom. At first it was just yelling, small humiliations. He said I was lazy, that I didn't help around the house, that I spent too much. Did your mother know? It always happened when she wasn't there. And when I told her, Carter denied everything. He said I was exaggerating, or just making things up to separate them. Ethan swallows hard. After a while, Mom stopped believing me. When did it turn from words to fists? About 6 months ago. He came home drunk, furious because he'd lost money on an investment. He said I was bad luck, that since I came into his life, everything was going wrong. Ethan's voice breaks slightly. He slapped me so hard I fell to the floor. Then he cried, apologized, gave me money so I wouldn't say anything. I feel the anger rising, but I force myself to stay calm. Why didn't you call me then? I thought I could handle it, and I was afraid that if I reported him, Mom would suffer. She seemed happy for the first time since Dad died. The phone interrupts our conversation. It's Grace, Ethan's mother. Dad? Carter just called me, completely hysterical. He says Ethan attacked him and that you interfered to get him out of the precinct. What is going on? I explain the situation as calmly as possible, but Grace is skeptical. I know Carter, Dad. He's not the monster you're describing. You haven't seen your son. He has a black eye and his eyebrow is split open. Are you going to say he did that to himself too? The silence on the other end of the line tells me everything. Part of her suspected, but she chose not to see. I'm on my way, she finally says. I want to talk to Ethan. After I hang up, I meet my grandson's questioning gaze. Mom's coming? Yes, but you don't need to worry. I won't let her take you back to that house. While we wait, Ethan finally falls asleep on the sofa. I watch him, remembering when he was just a boy, running through this same living room, chasing his father. Daniel, my son, died when Ethan was just 8. A highway accident. As absurd and sudden as these tragedies usually are. Grace was shattered, and Ethan grew up without that much-needed father figure. The doorbell rings just after noon. Grace is pale, with dark circles under her eyes, and to my surprise, Carter is standing next to her. What is he doing here? I ask, not hiding my hostility. He's my husband, Dad, and we need to resolve this as a family. A family doesn't beat its members, Grace. Carter steps in, putting on his best concerned man face. Mr. Anderson, I understand your concern. There was a misunderstanding last night. Things got out of control, but I assure you, I would never intentionally hurt Ethan. Save the act, Vance. The DA has evidence of your previous assaults. Carter pales for a moment, but recovers quickly. That meddling old woman twisted the facts. Any physical contact with Ethan has been purely disciplinary. Disciplinary? April's voice surprised us all. She's standing right inside my doorway, in uniform, her expression serious. I didn't hear her arrive. Lieutenant Roberts, Carter says nervously. We weren't expecting you, evidently. April steps forward. Mr. Vance, I have a warrant to seize the electronic devices from your home, including the video surveillance system. We need to recover the original recordings. This is an invasion of privacy, Carter protests. On what authority? On the authority of this warrant, signed by Judge Miranda Espinoza. April shows him the document. Furthermore, the district attorney has requested that you report for a formal statement this afternoon. Grace looks at me, confused and scared. Dad, what is happening? The noise wakes Ethan, who comes to the door rubbing his eyes. When he sees his mother, he runs to hug her. When he sees Carter, he stops cold. What is he doing here? Ethan, we need to talk, Grace says, trying to sound conciliatory. Carter says there was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Ethan steps back. He hit me, Mom, like he's done so many times when you're not here, and then he threatens me so I won't say anything. Carter moves toward him, his gesture threatening. Stop lying, you ungrateful little brat. After everything I've done for you and your mother. Mr. Vance, April interrupts, stepping between them. I suggest you maintain your distance from Mr. Alvarado. Any attempt at intimidation will be added to the existing charges. Carter glares at her with barely contained hatred, but he backs down. This isn't over. I have powerful friends, connections. Your connections are also being investigated, April replies, including your relationship with Inspector Camacho and certain City Hall officials. Carter looks at Grace. Are you going to allow this? Let them destroy our family over your son's lies? Grace seems torn between two loyalties. She looks at Ethan, then at Carter, then at me. I need to see those recordings, she says, her voice breaking. I need to know the truth. The truth is right in front of you, I tell her, pointing to Ethan's injuries. You just need to open your eyes to see it. Carter realizes he's losing ground. His face transforms, dropping the mask of the reasonable man. You ask for this, you meddling old man. If you think this will end well for you, or for the brat, you are very mistaken. He turns and walks to his car, ignoring April's calls for him to report for his statement. Let him go, Lieutenant, I say. He won't get far. Grace comes into the house, protectively hugging Ethan. April stays with me at the door for a moment. He should have presented himself voluntarily, she says, or I'll have to arrest him. Will he? He's too arrogant to believe he's in real trouble. He's underestimating the seriousness of this. We found more videos on Mrs. Klein's phone, episodes of abuse going back months. Does the DA have all this? Everything, and she is furious. Few things make Melinda Moss angrier than child abuse and police corruption. April looks at me seriously. Watch your grandson, Inspector. Men like him become most dangerous when they feel they're losing control. After April leaves, I go inside. Grace is sitting on the sofa, her head in her hands. Ethan's in the kitchen, making you some tea. Why didn't I see it? Grace murmurs as I sit beside her. How could I have been so blind? Love blinds us sometimes, I say softly. And Carter is a good manipulator. You're not the first, and you won't be the last to fall for someone like that. My own son, she sobs. My boy. And I didn't protect him. You can still protect him now, I say. By leaving Carter. By testifying against him. Grace looks at me, determination growing in her eyes. I will. He will never lay a hand on him again. The next few hours pass in a strange calm. Ethan and Grace talk for a long time in the guest room. I try to keep busy, making food that nobody really has an appetite for. The phone rings several times. The DA, Lieutenant Roberts, even a couple of reporters who somehow got wind of the case. I tell them all the same thing. We'll talk after we rest. At nightfall, after Ethan has finally fallen asleep, Grace sits with me on the porch. I never imagined it would end like this, she says, looking at the stars. When I met Carter, he seemed so perfect. Attentive, loving, stable. Manipulators always seem perfect at first. There were signs, she admits. Controlling comments, unexplainable jealousy, little lies. But I convinced myself they were unimportant. What will you do now? Divorce him, obviously. Testify against him. Try to repair my relationship with Ethan. She sighs deeply. It will be a long process. I'll be here to support you both, I assure her. My phone vibrates. A text from April. Carter never showed up for his statement. We've issued a warrant for his arrest. A chill runs down my spine. A man like Carter, cornered, is dangerous. What's wrong? Grace asks, noticing my expression. Nothing important, I lie, not wanting to worry her more. You should get some rest. That night, I sleep fitfully, waking at every noise. At 5 in the morning, the phone rings. It's April again. We found Carter's car abandoned near the airport, but there's no record of him getting on a flight, she informs me. We think he might be using fake documents or someone is helping him hide. Have you checked his bank accounts? They've been frozen since last night, and we have surveillance on all his known properties. Watch Camacho, too. If anyone knows where Carter is hiding, it's him. Camacho is under constant surveillance. I hang up and stare out the window. The dawn light begins to illuminate the empty street. Everything seems quiet, but I can't shake the feeling that this calm is just the prelude to something worse. 2 days pass with no news of Carter. Ethan starts to relax, even smiling occasionally. Grace files for divorce and files a formal complaint for domestic violence. DA Moss informs me that the investigation has widened. Apparently, Carter is involved in shady deals with several municipal officials, including bribery and influence peddling. On the morning of the 3rd day, Grace decides to go back to her house briefly to pick up some belongings. I insist on going with her, but she refuses. The police have had the house under surveillance all night, she says. Carter isn't there. Besides, I'll go with an officer. I'll be fine. Something inside me says it's a bad idea, but I don't want to seem overprotective. Grace already feels guilty enough. Call me when you get there, and before you leave, I tell her. I promise. Ethan and I stay home, playing chess to distract ourselves. He's good at the game, calculating and patient. He reminds me of his father. The phone rings and I answer, expecting to hear Grace. Instead, it's Carter. Listen to me carefully, old man. His voice is agitated, frantic. Your daughter-in-law is with me. If you want to see her again, bring Ethan to the abandoned warehouse at 54 Industrial Avenue. 1 hour. Just you two. If I see a single cop, Grace will pay. Carter, don't be a fool. 1 hour, he shouts and hangs up. I look at Ethan, who has grasped the gravity of the situation from my expression. I can't tell him the truth, but I can't lie either. What's wrong, Grandpa? Is it Mom? Your mother is fine, I say, trying to sound convincing. But I need you to stay here while I go take care of something important. It's Carter, isn't it? Ethan's intuition surprises me. What has he done? At that moment, my phone rings again. It's April. Inspector, we have a situation. Grace never made it to her house. The officer who was supposed to escort her was found unconscious in his patrol car. Carter has her, I say directly. He just called me. He wants me to bring Ethan to a warehouse on Industrial Avenue in 1 hour, or he'll hurt Grace. Don't go alone, Inspector, it's a trap. I know. But I can't risk my daughter-in-law's life. Get me the exact address. I'll send undercover units. I give her the details and hang up. Ethan stares at me. I'm going with you, he says firmly. No way. It's too dangerous. It's my mother, Grandpa. And this is my fault. It's not your fault, Ethan. None of this is your fault. If you don't take me, I'll go on my own. His determination is absolute. I look at him, weighing the situation. If I leave him here, he'll probably try to follow me, putting himself in more danger. If I take him, at least I can try to protect him. All right, I finally give in. But you will do exactly what I say. No questions. Understood? He nods gravely. Understood. As we prepare to leave, I can't help but think we're walking into the darkest part of this story. But I also know that sometimes you have to face the darkness before the light can finally come. The drive to the warehouse feels eternal. I drive in silence, Ethan beside me. His hands are shaking slightly, but his gaze reflects a determination that reminds me of his father. Before leaving, I tucked my old service pistol into the back of my waistband. I hoped I'd never have to use it again. But life has cruel ways of changing our plans. Do you have a plan? Ethan asks, breaking the silence. Lieutenant Roberts is sending undercover units. We won't be alone. What if they're late? What if Carter sees the cops and hurts Mom? I don't have a comforting answer, so I give him the truth. We'll do everything possible to make sure that doesn't happen. My phone vibrates with a text from April. Teams in position in 15 minutes. Wait before you go in. But we don't have 15 minutes. As we get to Industrial Avenue, I see the abandoned warehouse at the end of the street. It's a decrepit red brick building, with broken windows and graffiti covering its walls. A perfect place for an ambush. I park a block away, scanning the surroundings. No other vehicles are visible, but I spot a black sedan with tinted windows near the side entrance. Must be Carter's car. Stay here, I tell Ethan. I'm going to check it out first. Grandpa, he said we both had to go. I know, but I'm not putting you in danger. I'm already in danger, he replies, with a maturity that surprises me. And so is Mom. You can't protect us both by staying here. You're right, it pains me to admit it. But before I can respond, my phone rings again. It's Carter. I see you've arrived. Get in here now, or your daughter-in-law pays. We're coming, Carter. Don't do anything stupid. You have 2 minutes. I look at Ethan, feeling the weight of responsibility crushing me. Stay behind me at all times. Understood? He nods gravely. We walk toward the warehouse, each step heavier than the last. The main door is ajar, creaking ominously as I push it open. The inside is dark, barely lit by light filtering through dirty windows and some skylights. Carter? I call out, trying to keep my voice steady. In the back, Ed. Both of you. Come on. We move forward between boxes and abandoned machinery. The place smells like damp and rust. When we reach a larger open space, I see them. Carter is standing, holding Grace by the arm. Her face is stained with tears, but she seems unharmed. Mom! Ethan shouts, trying to run forward. I stop him, putting an arm out in front of him. Easy, I whisper. Then, to Carter. We're here. Let my daughter-in-law go. Carter lets out a bitter laugh. You think it's that simple, old man? You ruined my life, my reputation, my business. Everything is in jeopardy because of you. You did this to yourself, I reply. No one forced you to hit a child. The brat needed discipline. Carter tightens his grip on Grace's arm, making her wince. And you meddling old fool, had no right to interfere in my family. Let me go, Carter, Grace says, her voice trembling. Please, this is only making things worse. Shut up, he yells, shaking her. You betrayed me too. After everything I did for you and your ungrateful son. I scan the situation, weighing my options. Carter seems more and more unstable. His eyes have the feverish glint of a cornered animal. I don't see a weapon, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have one. What do you want, Carter? I ask, trying to buy time. I need April's units to arrive. I want my life back, he answers, his voice cracking slightly. I want all the charges dropped. I want the DA to stop the investigation into my business. And I want this brat, he points at Ethan, to take back all his lies. They're not lies, Ethan says with surprising calm. And you're right about one thing. You ruined your own life. Every time you hit me, every time you threatened me, every time you manipulated my mother, you dug your own grave. Carter lets go of Grace and lunges toward Ethan. It's the moment I was waiting for. I move quickly, putting myself between them. Don't you dare touch him. Or what, old man? What are you going to do? Carter shoves me, underestimating my strength. I don't budge. Get away from my family, I warn him, feeling the pistol press against my lower back. Carter smiles, a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Your family? How touching. The old cop protecting his own. He turns as if to walk away, but suddenly spins and throws a punch that I barely manage to dodge. The sudden movement makes me stumble back, giving Carter time to pull something from his waistband. A revolver. He points it directly at me. Now we're going to talk seriously, he says with a chilling calm. You and I know how this works, Ed. Men like us understand the language of power. Put the gun down, Carter. The police are on their way. Of course they are. I was expecting them. He smiles again. But by the time they get here, we'll have already settled our business. Grace takes advantage of the distraction to move to Ethan, hugging him protectively. Carter looks at them with contempt. Look at the happy family. How sweet. Carter, I try to reason with him. You can still get out of this. Put the gun down. Surrender. Cooperate with the DA. Maybe they'll make a deal. A deal? He laughs. No, Ed. Men like me don't make deals. We either win or... He leaves the sentence hanging. But his look says it all. I hear a faint noise behind me. Someone has entered the warehouse. I keep my expression neutral, not wanting to alert Carter. Why don't we let Grace and Ethan leave? I propose. This is between you and me. No, Carter replies, waving the gun. They're part of this. They're my insurance. The noise becomes more obvious. Carter tenses, looking into the shadows behind me. Who's there? He yells. Show yourself or I shoot! I take advantage of his momentary distraction to move closer to Grace and Ethan, positioning myself in front of them. If Carter shoots, he'll have to go through me first. Police! April's voice echoes in the warehouse. Drop the weapon, Mr. Vance! Carter seems surprised, but not scared. Lieutenant Roberts! How predictable! Did you come alone or bring backup? You're surrounded, Vance. There's no way out. There are always ways out, Lieutenant. Carter adjusts his stance, steadying his grip on the revolver. You just need the right incentive. I glance into the shadows, trying to locate April. I see her partially hidden behind a column, her weapon aimed at Carter. Let them go, Carter, she says firmly. More units are arriving. In minutes, this place will be full of officers. Then we don't have much time, Carter replies. He suddenly points the gun at Ethan. Either you let me walk out of here, or the kid pays for everything. It all happens in an instant. Without thinking, I lunge at Carter just as he pulls the trigger. The shot echoes through the warehouse, deafening. I feel a sharp pain in my shoulder, but I manage to tackle Carter, bringing him to the ground. The gun falls from his hand, skittering across the concrete floor. April emerges from the shadows, running toward us. Grace screams, holding Ethan, who seems unharmed. Carter and I struggle on the floor. Despite my age, the adrenaline gives me the strength to keep him pinned until April arrives and cuffs him. Are you okay, Inspector? April asks, noticing the blood on my shirt. It's just a scratch, I lie, feeling the pain intensify. Take care of him. More officers flood into the warehouse, securing the place. One of them comes to me with a first aid kit, while Carter is pulled to his feet and led away, screaming threats and insults. This isn't over, he yells. I have powerful friends. I'll get revenge on all of you. Grace and Ethan rush over, worried about my wound. Grandpa, you're bleeding. A lot, Ethan says, his eyes full of tears. I've had worse, I try to reassure him, though the pain is considerable. An ambulance is on the way, April informs me. Hang on, Inspector. As the paramedic puts pressure on the wound, I look at my family. Despite the terror they just went through, I see relief on their faces. Carter can't hurt them anymore. In the ambulance, with Grace and Ethan by my side, I feel a strange sense of peace. The wound hurts, but it's a reminder that I'm alive, that we all survived this nightmare. Thank you, Dad, Grace whispers, squeezing my hand, for saving us. I always will, I reply, feeling the sedative they gave me start to kick in. I'll always be there for you. The days in the hospital pass slowly. The bullet grazed the bone in my shoulder, but did no serious damage. The doctors say I'll have full mobility after a few weeks of therapy. April visits me regularly, keeping me updated on the case. Carter is facing multiple charges: kidnapping, aggravated assault, child abuse, attempted homicide, obstruction of justice. The list is long. Camacho has also been formally charged with cover-up and evidence tampering. DA Moss has widened the investigation, uncovering a corruption network involving several city officials. One afternoon, while Ethan is helping me with the hospital food, I notice he's unusually thoughtful. What's on your mind, son? I was thinking. About everything that happened, about how one man can cause so much harm. Some men confuse power with the right to abuse others, I tell him. It's a hard lesson, but an important one. I think I want to study law, he says suddenly. I want to help people like us, people facing injustice. I smile, feeling an immense sense of pride. You'll be an excellent lawyer, Ethan. It's all thanks to you, Grandpa. His eyes get misty. If I hadn't had the courage to call you that night. But you did, I interrupt. And that shows the kind of man you are. The door opens and D.A. Moss walks in. It's the first time I've seen her since that night at the precinct. She looks tired but satisfied. Inspector Anderson, I'm glad to see you recovering, D.A. Moss. What a surprise. I came to inform you personally. The judge has denied bail for Carter Vance. He will remain in custody until the trial. And Camacho, I ask? Also in custody. He's cooperating, providing information on the entire corruption network. The DA looks at Ethan. Your testimony will be crucial, young man. Do you think you can do it? Ethan nods firmly. I'm ready. Good. Because what you've been through, unfortunately, is not an isolated case. The DA sits on the edge of my bed. We're implementing a new protocol in the Justice Department, precisely to prevent the manipulation of digital evidence in domestic violence cases. A new protocol? I ask, intrigued. Yes. She actually smiles slightly. We're calling it the Anderson Protocol in honor of you and your grandson. The news leaves me speechless. Ethan looks at me with shining eyes. Did you hear that, Grandpa? Your name is going to be part of the justice system. Our name. I correct him. This victory belongs to both of us. The DA gets up to leave. We'll need you both at the courthouse next week. Lieutenant Roberts will come pick you up. We'll be there, Ethan promises. When the DA leaves, Grace comes in with coffee and pastries from the hospital cafeteria. She's gotten some color back in her cheeks, though she still looks exhausted. Good news? She asks, noticing our expressions. The best, Ethan replies, and tells her about the Anderson Protocol. Grace looks at me with a mix of gratitude and regret. Dad, I can never thank you enough, if you hadn't been there for us. But I was, I say simply, and I always will be. That night, after Grace and Ethan have left, I'm alone in the hospital room, reflecting. I think about the terror of that late-night call, the frustration with Camacho, the pain of the gunshot. But I also think about my grandson's courage, April's tenacity, and D.A. Moss's integrity. The system isn't perfect. It's full of Camachos and Carters, people who abuse their power. But there are also those who fight for justice, who refuse to look the other way. My phone vibrates on the nightstand. A text from April. Case officially closed. The trial will be quick with all the evidence we have. Get some rest, Inspector. You've earned it. I smile in the dim light of the room. Maybe my career as a cop ended years ago, but I never stopped fighting for what's right. And now, that fight has taken on new meaning through Ethan. I close my eyes, feeling a true sense of peace for the first time in days. The pain in my shoulder is a small price to pay for my family's safety, and knowing our experience will help protect others fills me with a quiet pride. Tomorrow, I'll be discharged. Tomorrow, the real healing begins. Not just my physical wound, but the invisible wounds Carter left on Ethan and Grace. It will be a long road, but we'll walk it together, as a family. And as I drift off to sleep, I think about all those people suffering in silence, trapped in cycles of abuse and fear. Maybe our story, when it gets out, will give them the courage to make that desperate call in the middle of the night, to ask for help, to break the silence. Because sometimes, all it takes is the courage to dial a number and say, "I'm scared. Please, help me." The courthouse hallways are crowded, but I walk with determination, leaning on a cane the doctors insisted I use for at least another month. The wound in my shoulder has healed well, though it still aches when the weather changes. Ethan walks beside me, tall and calm. In these past few weeks, he's matured so much that I sometimes hardly recognize the scared teenager who called me that night. Today is sentencing day. After a trial that lasted 3 weeks, the judge will announce the fate of Carter Vance and Victor Camacho. The evidence presented by the prosecution was overwhelming. The recovered videos, Mrs. Klein's recordings, Ethan's brave testimony, and the medical reports documenting the pattern of abuse. Nervous? I ask my grandson as we wait outside the courtroom. A little, he admits. Do you think he'll really pay for what he did? Damos did an exceptional job. And your testimony was flawless, Ethan. Firm, clear, without contradictions. Grace joins us wearing a formal suit. She's changed in these weeks, slowly getting back the strength she lost during her marriage to Carter. The divorce is moving forward, and she's started therapy to work through the guilt that still haunts her. The courtroom is packed, she informs us. There are several reporters. This case has gotten a lot of attention. It's true. What started as a domestic violence case turned into a wider investigation of municipal corruption. Several officials have already been indicted. The courtroom doors open and we go in. We sit in the front row, behind the prosecution's table. April Roberts is already there, reviewing documents. She nods at us. On the other side, Carter's and Camacho's lawyers are talking quietly. Their clients haven't been brought in yet. All rise, the bailiff announces as Judge Reynolds enters. He's a man in his 60 seconds, known for his fairness. You may be seated. Bring in the accused. Carter and Camacho are escorted in by guards, both wearing orange prison jumpsuits. Carter seems to have lost weight, and his usual arrogance is gone, replaced by a sullen expression. He looks at us briefly, and I think I see a flash of hatred in his eyes before he looks away. The judge adjusts his glasses and reviews the documents. After considering all the evidence presented and the jury's deliberations, this court is ready to pass sentence. The room is dead silent. I feel Ethan's hand tense up in mine. In the case of the state versus Carter Vance, the jury has found you guilty on all counts. Aggravated domestic violence, child abuse, obstruction of justice, kidnapping, and attempted homicide. The judge looks directly at Carter. This court sentences you to 22 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for at least 15 years. A murmur goes through the room. Carter remains impassive, as if he expected this. As for the accused Victor Camacho, the judge continues, having been found guilty of abuse of authority, cover-up, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice. You are sentenced to 12 years in prison, with possibility of review after 8, considering your cooperation with the DA's broader investigation. Camacho hangs his head, visibly shaken. Furthermore, the judge adds, this court orders both defendants to pay restitution to the victims, the amount to be determined in a subsequent civil hearing. The gavel comes down, sealing their fate. Ethan exhales slowly. Grace sobs quietly beside me. Session adjourned, the judge declares. As the guards lead Carter and Camacho away, D.A. Moss comes over. Justice served, she says with professional satisfaction. The judge was as firm as we'd hoped. Thank you for everything, D.A., I say sincerely. Don't thank me. Thank your grandson. She looks at Ethan with admiration. His testimony was crucial, especially when he described the systematic pattern of abuse. Many teenagers wouldn't have had that clarity or courage. Ethan smiles shyly. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. The DA checks her watch. I have to go. We have a press conference in 20 minutes about the case and the new protocol. Would you like to join me? I look at Ethan and Grace. I think we need a moment in private, Grace answers. It's been an intense morning. Of course. Lieutenant Roberts has all your information for the official Anderson Protocol presentation ceremony next week. When the DA leaves, we stay in the nearly empty courtroom for a few more minutes. How do you feel? I ask Ethan. Relieved, I think, but also strange. Part of me hoped he would apologize, show some kind of remorse. Men like Carter rarely admit their mistakes, I tell him. They always blame others. Do you think he'll change in prison? I don't know, son, but what's important is that he can't hurt you anymore. We leave the courthouse through a side door, avoiding the reporters. The day is bright and warm. Let's get something to eat, Grace suggests. We need to celebrate this. At the restaurant, I look at my family. There's a lightness to them I haven't seen in a long time. The shadows haven't disappeared, but they're less dense. Have you decided which university you're applying to? I ask Ethan. I'm looking at the state university, he replies. They have an excellent law program, and D.A. Moss said she could recommend me for a special mentorship program. That's a great opportunity, Grace says with pride. And I just got a new job. I start next month as a supervisor at my company. Everything is looking up, I say, raising my glass. To new beginnings. We toast, and for a moment the past seems like a distant country we've managed to escape from. The following weeks settle into a new routine. My shoulder improves enough to ditch the cane. Ethan prepares his university applications with renewed enthusiasm. Grace spends more time at my house than in her own new apartment. One afternoon I get a call from April. Inspector, we have a date for the official Anderson Protocol presentation. This Friday, 11 a.m., at the main auditorium. The DA would like you and Ethan to say a few words, just to share your experience. When I tell Ethan, I see the excitement in his eyes. It's a chance to help other people who are going through the same thing. The day of the presentation, the auditorium is full. Police officers, DAs, judges. D.A. Moss explains the new protocol, a set of procedures to guarantee the integrity of digital evidence in domestic violence and child abuse cases. It includes metadata verification, a reinforced chain of custody, and independent forensic analysis. This protocol was born from a case that revealed serious flaws in our system. When it's my turn, I stand up. For 35 years, I served as a police inspector, I begin. I thought I knew the system, its strengths and weaknesses. But it was only when my own grandson was trapped in that system that I truly understood how vulnerable victims of domestic abuse really are. I briefly tell our story, highlighting the crucial support from people like April Roberts and Melinda Moss. When Ethan takes the microphone, his voice is clear and firm. He speaks directly to the young people present, describing the subtle signs of abuse he ignored, the psychological manipulation, the fear. If you are going through something similar, know that you are not alone, he says. There are people who will believe you. You just need to take that first step. Make that call, like I did. His words are met with a deafening applause. Months pass. Ethan is accepted to the state university. Grace finalizes her divorce. I return to my old hobbies. One afternoon, almost a year after that night, I receive an official envelope. Carter's appeal has been denied. I don't mention it to Ethan or Grace. There's no reason to disturb the peace they've worked so hard to find. The next morning, Ethan comes over for breakfast. He's on break and now volunteers as a mentor for other young survivors. I have something to show you, he says, pulling a paper from his bag. It's an acceptance letter for a summer law program. This is impressive, Ethan, D.A. Moss recommended me. She says I have potential for the domestic violence prosecution unit. The path he chose isn't easy, but there's a strength in him, a resilience born from his own pain. You know what's strange, Grandpa? He says. Sometimes I think about Carter, and I don't feel fear or hatred anymore, just pity. That's part of healing, I tell him. Do you still hate him? I consider it. Let's just say I don't waste my energy on him. I prefer to focus it on you, on our family, on the good things that came from this. And it's true. The Anderson Protocol is being adopted in other states. Ethan has found his calling. Grace has reclaimed her life. That weekend, We have a small celebration at my house. Grace brings food, Ethan brings friends from his support group. Mrs. Klein even comes, bringing donuts. As I watch this new expanded family, April comes up to me. "Did you know 3 other states are adopting the protocol?" she says. "They're considering it at the national level. And I made captain." "Congratulations, Captain. Well deserved." "Thanks, Inspector. I owe part of it to you and Ethan." As the party continues, I step onto the porch. The sky is turning orange. I think about the contrasts. While we celebrate, Carter serves his sentence. While Ethan builds a future, Camacho's career is destroyed. I don't feel satisfaction, just the certainty that justice, though imperfect and slow, finally arrived. Ethan comes out to find me. "Everything okay, Grandpa? You're missing dessert." "Just thinking," I say, putting my arm around his shoulders, "about how proud I am of you, of the man you've become." "Thanks to you," he replies, resting his head on my good shoulder. "If I hadn't made that call, but you did, and that changed everything." We go back inside together. Grace greets us with a smile, a lightness in her face that reminds me of the young woman I knew before life hit her so hard. As we eat dessert, I think about all those phones ringing in the dead of night, about the trembling voices asking for help. The story that began with a desperate call didn't end with a fairy tale. Real life rarely offers those, but it gave us something just as valuable. The chance to turn pain into purpose, fear into determination, and a traumatic experience into a legacy that will protect many others. And maybe, in the end, that's the most important victory of all. If my story has moved you and you want to know what happened next, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Remember, your support with a like and a comment can save other lives, just like my grandson's.